Okay, so things just got heated up in the Daisy Link trial as the defense began putting on their case in chief to defend against the charges brought against Daisy for the killing of her husband Pedro Jimenez on the 25th of June 2022. We got to hear about the instances of DV perpetrated by Pedro Jimenez as promised in the opening statements by the defense. This was much needed considering Daisy said that she was acting in self-defense, and of course we already heard damning testimonies about Pedro's autopsy that was given in day 3, detailing how he incurred those injuries and where his body's positions and stance was likely to be when he had incurred these injuries. We did a recap where we went into detail about this testimony in full on our day 3 recap, which also contains recaps of day 2 and day 1. So I implore you to watch that video after this one to get more context of what has been happening in the trial so far. But no case is without its controversies, and what happened today is probably the peak of it all.
What's in your hand?
Oh, my cell phone.
No, what paperwork is in your hand?
I don't know. Am I supposed to have this?
Ms. Perez, what paperwork is in your hands?
And we're going to get into all of it today on this particular video. Hi, I go by the name of Hines, your friendly neighborhood ketchup man, and welcome to Ketchup Court, where we are on a mission to make trials digestible for you. If you're unable to watch all 7 hours of a trial feed or cannot go into a courtroom to see the proceedings for yourself, we have got you covered right here. As I said in the beginning, this case got really heated and there are a number of reasons for why this happened. One of the reasons is that the prosecution felt like the court weren't doing enough to caution the witnesses to follow the sequestration orders, which means that the witnesses are not allowed to converse with one another about their testimonies or consume media about anything to do with this particular trial while they're still giving evidence. And also during the course of this trial, especially today, the judge was interfering with the witness testimonies without there being an objection from the lawyers. Therefore, it is imperative to understand the context behind why this was the case and how this is going to impact the case going forward. To achieve this, we need to understand the substance of the witnesses that testified today. I have chosen 3 key witnesses to give us the overall view of what has happened in court today. Those witnesses were Lelaine, I believe that's her name, I probably butchered it, but Lelaine Gonzalez, who was Daisy's niece, Crystal Barato, who was Daisy's sister, Josephine Perez, who was Daisy's mother. These 3 witnesses are essential to understanding why the state felt the way that they did in regards to the witnesses breaking the sequestration orders as alleged by the state. As with all my recaps, the links are in the description for the full report, as there was a total of 4 witnesses that testified today, which includes the lead investigator for the case. You can find the full report and get the substance of his testimony. Before we go into the key testimonies, I must present the important approximated times that were given by the lead investigator, Joseph Cruz. This will help establish the chain of events before, during and after the shooting had occurred. It will help us better understand why the state were aggrieved about what is actually going on and why they seem pretty much stuck with their arguments to the court. Detective Cruz gave testimony that the shooting had occurred approximately at 3:12 a.m. Then at 3:23 a.m., the 911 call was placed by Daisy, and the first officer on the scene was Officer Nicholson. He arrived at 3:27 a.m. Remember, these times is going to be very important later on. But with the defense knowing these facts and watching Daisy on camera for 2 days now with Melanie Ganores and also Joseph Cruz coming in to show Daisy saying on camera, "I didn't hit an artery, you'll be fine," and also being interrogated in her interview, we saw this where the investigators were highlighting to her when she tried to say that she did not actually say this. So with all of this in mind, the defense needed to make sure that their defense was incisive. They had to lay the groundwork to give an idea why in this particular scenario with Daisy denying this on camera and saying what she said on camera, why she would be making those statements. To establish this, in comes Miss Gonzalez, which is what I'm gonna call her from now on because that first name, I just can't do it, I'm sorry. She is Daisy's niece who gave testimony about possible instances of domestic violence between Daisy and Pedro, delivering on the defense promise during the opening statements. She details how Daisy had sent her pictures of her injuries that she suffered in one of the incidents with Pedro before she had traveled to Texas to see the family.
Is this one of the pictures that you saw before you came down to Florida back in 2022?
Yes.
And we're going to learn later on why Daisy had made this trip. She also testified to what she experienced and witnessed when the family went to Florida to go to Daisy's residence and be with her. She testified that Pedro was pacing around the house when they were there. Again, remember the times of the shooting as we are getting closer to their materiality and why the state were doing everything to exclude these testimonies. In came Crystal Barreto. This is Daisy's sister who cross-corroborated Daisy's niece's testimony, testifying to seeking treatment for the injuries that Daisy had likely suffered or potentially suffered because of an instance of domestic violence with Pedro Jimenez. She testifies to seeing the injuries for herself after receiving the pictures back in Texas and said that she could see the bone in her skull.
And what is that? What do you see in that picture?
Daisy's with blood all over her shoulder area and looks like some hair and on her shirt.
Did there come a point after that where you met with your sister Daisy in person?
Yes, when she sent me the pictures, I offered to take her to the hospital, and I went in person to her home to get her children so that she would be able to go to the hospital and get treated for her injuries.
Okay, now when you went to her home for that purpose, do you know how long it had been since she had received those injuries?
It had been maybe a few hours, maybe 24 hours. I don't really know the time frame of when it happened because I wasn't there when it actually happened. I was only there, after the fact and to get the children from her to make sure they were in a safe place so that she could get treated for the injuries that were on her head that looked severe in my opinion. I seen open wounds on her head area. It looks like you can see like her skull, lots of blood, lots of swelling all over her head.
This was to show how severe these injuries were. However, this is when the credibility of her testimonies was called into question. On cross-examination by the state, her interview with the detectives was put to her.
On direct examination, when the defense attorney asked you, do you remember telling the police if Pedro was dead, Daisy must have shot him? You said, I never told police that. Did I misquote you?
Are you talking about when he did my deposition?
No, I'm talking about right now when he was asking you the question.
Correct.
That's what you said?
Right.
You remember giving a deposition.
I do.
I'm gonna start here. Question. Do you remember saying that if he, meaning Pedro, is dead, that Daisy must have shot him? Answer. No, I don't remember saying that. Is that right?
Yes.
But today, you remember 110% you didn't say it.
Right.
If you watch our day 2 recap, the link is in the cards. You would remember the testimony of Danny Morales.
So Crystal Barreto immediately, spontaneously stated the words, if he is dead, Daisy must have shot him.
Then she doubled down saying that she did not make the statements and she denies making the statements.
So is it that you don't remember or you didn't say it, Ms. Barreto?
Well, the question was, did I remember when he asked me? And I said, no, I don't remember.
No, the question was, did you make the statement? And you said you didn't. So my question is, did you not make the statement or is that you don't remember?
But I think you just read me the question and it said, do you remember saying that? And I said, I do not remember saying that.
Absolutely. So Ms. Barreto, I'm going to ask you again. Is it that you did not make the statement for sure? Or is it that you don't remember making that statement?
I did not make the statement 100% for sure. Unless I was a psychic, then I would have made the statement, but I'm not a psychic.
Although on redirect, she had testified that she had seen the injuries for herself, sought treatment for these particular injuries, and the images of Daisy's injuries are in evidence for the jury to consider when it comes time for their deliberations. So only two questions at this point comes to mind. Why would law enforcement volunteer that information if it wasn't true as an objective party? And the other question is, why would the pictures not be reliable? As you can see, this leaves the jury with only one option, which is to trust her word that she has seen these injuries for herself, unless the defense is able to bring in the metadata that shows when these images were created. And they need to do this because of the cross-examination that the jury heard from Ms. Gonzalez about the lack of metadata and she not seeing a metadata, and only the fact that the photo was sent to her a few days before the family had gone to see Daisy. So if they don't have that data, it would only be her word. In comes Josefina Perez, who is Daisy's mother, who gave a lot of context to the events before the incident, but she couldn't actually testify to the actual incident because she had left at 2 or maybe 2:30 a.m. Now, I want you to recall those times of the shooting, 911 call, and the police first arrival. You got it? You remember those times? Let's get into the mother's testimony. The mother testified that she went down to Florida from Texas with her kids because she saw the injuries to Daisy. She said also that they had originally planned to visit Daisy on the 4th of July 2022 to remove Daisy and the kids covertly.
What happened that caused you to come down here from Texas back then?
I saw some photos of my daughter Daisy with her head bashed in. What I was looking to accomplish when I arrived before my original date was to remove her and the children to safety immediately. We had already had plans to do that. I just had to, do it at an earlier date because of this.
So that Pedro would not have the knowledge that they are fleeing from him. Plans had changed along the way and they had to make the travel on the 24th to go to Daisy's residence due to those pictures being sent to the family. She said that she saw the injuries for herself when they had arrived at Daisy's residence on the 24th of June at 1:30 p.m.
Yes, I did see the physical open wounds on her head. She had a giant bruise on her arm. She had a scrape, like a mark here. And I told her, that's it. We have to get out of here now. And I need you we're going to pack everything up and we're just going to leave.
After seeing these injuries, she went to somebody called Gloria. I don't really know the relationship. It could be important later, but not the focus. Let's move on. The time that she traveled to Gloria's house was not really specified. However, we know that she had left Gloria's house at 10 or 11 p.m., returning to Daisy's residence at 1 a.m. or 1:30 a.m. So this was a very long trip. Then she observed Pedro's actions in the space of an hour or an hour and a half.
In like 30 minutes, 3 men came and they picked them up.
3 men came and picked up Pedro.
Right, he doesn't have a car, so.
Okay. All right, so he left.
Mm-hmm.
And when was the next time that you saw Pedro after he left with those other men?
I saw him that night. I don't know the exact time, maybe 11 something, going to 12. Daisy said she was going to take Pedro home, so he won't come over, because if he comes, then we're going to have a problem. So let me give him a ride home. And I told her, okay, about maybe 15, so many minutes later, I was with her sitting out front by the AC unit. That's the front door. So I turned my head around, and Mr. Jimenez stuck his arm in the door, in the window. There's a broken window that is punched out. And he unlocked the door and went inside, started knocking things over. Daisy opened the door in the front. She said, "Get out of my house. Give me my stuff back."
All right, so he came in, he started knocking things down, and then he was told to leave. Is that right?
Yeah, I told him, no, I didn't tell him. He grabbed her purse that had her cell phone in it. It was a red purse. Then the last one was when she went to the back. We thought he was going to be gone by then. She went to the alley to see if she could see her purse thrown there, since she kept standing around the alley. So I told her, let's wait till the morning. She goes, no, just in case, all my things are in there, like my cards, my phone. Let me see if it's there. And then he came, I'm trying to figure, from this way. I don't know east, west, or north. It was dark out, but he went like this, and he saw her, and he came running like this, and he clotheslined her. You know, like when you go like this, and knocked her back, and then he said some cuss words, and grabbed her by her hair, and then hit her like this. You know, like you pick someone up, and he put her face on the...
You saw
It's like
him
a
do
gravel. Yeah, I could see him, and I told him, now I'm not playing with you. I'm gonna call the police for sure. He left. That was it. He ran off.
Is that the last time you saw him?
That's the last time I saw him. Yes.
Okay. So that was the last time you saw him. How long after this last time that you saw him was it that you left?
Maybe 30 minutes. And I looked around. I didn't see him anywhere, so I told her, you know, I'm gonna go home. I'm tired, and you know, I discussed it with my other daughter. I said, I need a ride home. You know what? I don't want to be around this stuff. I told him to go, and hopefully he'll stay gone until the morning. We can figure out what's wrong.
Then she left the house at what would be maybe 2 or at 2:30 a.m. The purpose of going to Daisy's residence was to extract Daisy and her kids from Pedro. She said that she returned to the residence after receiving a call from the police around 8 a.m. Now, recorded times of the shooting: 3:12 a.m. approximately, 3:23 a.m. for the 911 call, and 3:27 a.m. when Officer Nicholson arrived on the scene. Therefore, with the state knowing that their case could be in jeopardy and noticing how their stories just seem to be syncing up perfectly almost, they made a motion to the judge to disqualify those testimonies from Crystal, Ms. Gonzalez, and also Josefina Perez, to completely remove their testimonies, citing that they were breaking their witness sequestration orders. They had even argued and brought up the different instances in the past where they had already broken these orders, and they were cautioned by the judge, and even brought in a personnel from the DA's office who witnessed one of the kids watching on Law on Crime, watching it on YouTube, and commenting on the chat. It was wild. But the most interesting part was when they called in Daisy's mother.
What's in your hand?
Oh, my cell phone.
No, what paperwork is in your hand?
I don't know. Am I supposed to have this?
Ms. Perez, what paperwork is in your hand?
My testimony, my deposition,
Ms.
right?
Perez, who gave you your deposition in the middle of your testimony that you are live testifying?
Yeah, I didn't have this. I just came in with it right now.
Judge, who gave it to you? Who gave it to you, Ms. Perez?
Aren't I supposed to have this?
Ms. Perez, who gave you
No.
your deposition? Hold on, we're going to get back and forth.
I don't know what's going on. Am I not supposed to have this?
You can have it. Where did you get it?
I thought I got it from the attorney.
Judge, she thought she got it? Judge, she's not.
Wait a minute.
I'm done with your question.
Judge, Ms. Price,
What?
about 5-10 minutes ago, you finished up with your testimony. Who handed you that deposition?
I didn't, I've had this in my hand, but,
While you were testifying?
no, I had it, it was outside.
Right. Who handed it to you when you walked back outside?
I don't remember. How is it that I watched a live feed when I just walked out the door?
When you walked up to Leland,
Mm-hmm.
she handed that to you, and there was a live feed from Long Crime. Do you remember that?
No, I don't. And you know what? I'm going to say something. That is the truth and the God's honest truth. I just approached them. They asked me what was wrong. And you know what? I am so exhausted with you, sir. I got here at 5 in the morning. I didn't hold a conversation with no one. I passed out when I got to my daughter's house. Then, if somebody even handed me this right now, I wasn't even paying attention to that. And now you're accusing me of watching a live feed? You think that I would allow that little boy to watch a live feed? That's insanity what you're saying right here now. I would never do that.
You're not going to get that. Do you know why you're not going to get that? Because you have to lay the reason to do it. Do you understand? We don't go from 0 to 10 like this.
Judge, I would ask that this witness please be excused before we make further.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we give the other side an opportunity before we start making requests in front of the witness?
But putting all of that to one side, we have to cast our minds back to Josefina Perez's testimony, where interestingly there was no mention of where Crystal or Ms. Gonzalez, for that 1 hour that Josefina Perez was with Daisy and Pedro and witnessing all that she did, it was only her. Therefore, a lot of questions are raised at this point. If the purpose was to come in and extract Daisy and the kids from Pedro, remember, the 5th of July was the original plan, but they changed plans to come in and extract on this day. Why would you just leave her with Pedro after experiencing all that you have experienced before coming here? You have received the pictures. When you came, you saw the injuries to Daisy yourself. She was seeking treatment. I'm assuming that all of them were together based on Crystal and Ms. Gonzalez's testimony. She was getting treatment at this point. The injuries were so severe, according to Crystal's testimony, that she could see a bone, all of those things. On top of that, you saw Pedro clothesline your daughter, then drag her by the hair. You saw all of this happen, and you left her? Why leave her despite the purpose of the visit? Remember, she said that Pedro had left 3 times. This is prime time to take the daughter out and drive her to another location. Why leave her at the scene? Take her with you. And this next part is nitpicky. I'm borderline cynical, and I hate to even go here, but it's very late. So if you see this part, then just know that I've looked over it again and I've decided, okay, YOLO, I'm gonna put it out there. But we never heard testimony about cleaning the injuries or even sorting out the injuries. Because she was seeking treatment, we just never heard testimony about that. It's just we saw it. So it just leaves in my mind that they are recalling only seeing these images and probably did not see it for the first time. The reason why I say this is because I am having to take the police officer's interview for the truth of the matter, because none of them has testified to seeing injuries on Daisy that day. They stripped her naked. They had evaluated her. And like I always say, if I have made any mistakes in any of my videos, let me know in the comment section. I will pin it up. I'll post the corrections in order I do, because I don't want to misinform anyone. Credibility is a key thing in criminal cases. It's make or break. And based on all of these testimonies, it could literally just boil down to just that one fact. And it really depends on what the prosecution do at this point, because surely they must have seen all of these inconsistencies and they must have a rebuttal to put on, because end of the day, they have to bring out these inconsistencies one way or the other. They didn't, in my opinion, extract these testimonies or even try to get to the substance of where everyone was that night. And maybe that is strategic to bring back the detectives to testify to the injuries or even seeing injuries on Daisy that night or anything like that. I have no idea where they're gonna go from this. Anyways, thank you all for watching. I really do appreciate you. If you've made it this far, you have got great taste. Pour your sauce, hit that, smash that like button if you have found this video to be of value for you. Consider supporting the channel by becoming a tastemaker and be part of our great community by hitting that join button on YouTube, supporting us on Patreon, or by giving us one-off donations. Whatever your heart's content, the links are in the description for how you can support our work. If you've got a taste for the law, you're already one of us. Make it official and join the tastemakers today. I go by the name of Hines, your friendly neighborhood ketchup man, and thank you ever so much for watching this video. Also, just to remind you earlier about our day 1, day 2, and day 3 recaps, the playlist should be coming up on your screen right now so that you can go and binge on day 1, day 2, and day 3 and get the full context of what's been happening that led up to this madness. Anyways, I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you on the next recap. Bye for now.